I'll never forget March 2020, whenever Governor J.B. Pritzker announced there was going to be a stay-at-home order. I was blown away. Never in the history of ever in this country has there been that wide of a net cast saying we need to, 2 weeks to slow the spread, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, then it turned into 3 weeks to slow the spread, and then it turned into 2.5 months worth. Some of us, we didn't really skip a beat. I came into this place, the radio station, each and every day. Media was considered an essential labor force, as was construction, as were medical, as were some retail. But a lot of retail, of course, mom and pop shops, they were told they couldn't have in-person service. A lot of restaurants told they couldn't have in-person service. There was a lot of employees that were either let go, laid off, or quit. And took unemployment, or a lot of businesses got federal tax dollars to keep their employees on while their employees stayed home. But a lot of you were able to do work remotely. This while eventually after a week or so, all of a sudden schools were told that they couldn't have in-person education. So education wasn't deemed essential. But some of us, again, law enforcement, public works, media, we went to the office. We got into the trash trucks. We got into, the various situations that some people were told to stay away from. But regardless, a lot of you out there did stay home, and you were able to work from home. And I'm curious now, here we are, fast forward, it's now October of 2022. Are you still working from home? 217-629-7970 is the phone number. I'm not here to judge you. I don't care if it's in the private sector or in the public sector. I want to hear from you about your work status. Are you still working from home, or are you back in the office, and how long have you been back in the office? Now, I know it seems to be hit or miss, especially for the public sector in Springfield, where, of course, the capital of Illinois. We've got a lot of state government offices, and I've talked to several people in different departments, whether they're back into the office full time or whether they're still working remotely. Some people are working remotely most of the week while going in maybe 2 or 3 days a week. Others are fully back in the office and have been fully back in the office probably since like February of last year or something. But some of you still are not back in the office and haven't been given that directive. I'd love to hear from you at 217-629-7970. That's the phone number. And again, I've been needing to ask all of the state departments what their work policy is. Are they back at work? Are they back downtown into their office space? Or are they still working remotely? And this is something that I have yet to cast that question to dozens of state departments, but I figured I'd gauge from you, the listeners out there. Are you back at work? If so, how long's it been? Or are you not back at work? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Morning, Greg. Hey, during the whole pandemic and everything, I never went home. I'm an IT guy for one of the local hospitals around town. And, we never went back to work, because if there's a computer in the hospital and a nurse or doctor needed it, we had to show up.
Yeah.
And, however, we also did set up a lot of remote workers. I mean, at least 200 of them.
Wow.
At least. And a lot of those guys are now hybrids, where they work a couple days home, they come into the office for like specific meetings and then stay there. We've actually set up some hotel suites for them and stuff like that.
So, yeah, interesting to hear, even in the medical space, there were some who stayed home and worked remotely, and you being in the IT space of that industry, having to set them up, I bet there were a lot of headaches about, no, you got to plug it into that network card, or no, you've got to make sure you sign into this browser thing first, or...
have you tried turning it off and on again? I mean, come on. Or it's like, nope, that's the wrong button. That's the monitor. You need to turn off the actual computer.
How many times did you say, I think this is user error?
It's called a PEBCAC error. problem exists between keyboard and chair.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, no, I mean, a lot of it was, just a headache at first. But to be honest, everybody buckled down. Everybody joined up together, and they actually listened, and they made sure that they were able to work. And we even got to the point in some cases where it was, hey, can you FaceTime us?
Sure.
And show us what is going on. And so,
yeah, it's amazing what sharing your screen to walk somebody through something, what that can do. I appreciate the call, 217-629-7970. I do have a story here about a study that Microsoft did of a bunch of employers and employees from 11 different nations. They talked to 20,000 workers and a bunch of employers as well. And they give an interesting breakdown on the needs of various workers from different generations and the ideas of getting back to in-person work, getting back into the office. So I want to hear from you at 217-629-7970. Are you back in the office? I don't care if it's public or private sector. You don't have to give your name. I'm not looking to judge you. I'm just curious to gauge exactly who's back in the office and who's not. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning, Greg.
Hey.
So I work in the private sector, and we have been back in the office since June 1st of 2020. So we were off for a really short time there at the beginning of 2020, and then we've been back in the office. But we work as a liaison to a state office, and I know that most of them are still working from home.
Wow.
So
yeah, even though you've been in the office all this time since June of 2020, that's more than 2 years ago. You know that some people that utilize the space are still not back in the office.
Exactly.
Wow,
so we have to email them documents because they're not in the office to actually get the hard copies that were required by law to provide.
Mm-hmm.
So,
interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Right on. No, I appreciate that insight. Good stuff. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. Are you back in the office? If not, I want to know about that too, if you're not back in the office. Let me get to this study here, but first a phone call. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Well, you're talking about working from home and working from the office. And during the pandemic, I worked from the office, but I came in at night. Because of we didn't want to be around anybody, and my job kind of required me to be in sometimes.
Sure.
But I figured out ways to work from home, and I actually am more effective from home because I have better technology at home.
Yeah.
I have a much better computer. I have a much faster, it seems like faster internet. I don't know, but
yeah.
So yeah, I'm more productive at home. So we're looking at a hybrid model that would allow me to be in the office when I need to be and then work from home, the rest of the time. And I think it just depends on your personality. Some people just, they're not disciplined enough to stay on task.
And I think time management's a big thing, and making sure that there's accountability as well is a big thing. If you don't mind me asking, public or private sector?
I work for the state.
Okay. All right. Just so I'm clear. So, and is it a directive that it's a hybrid model right now, or have they sent out communication dictating one way or the other?
My particular, where I work, they've sent out information based on stuff with AFSCME, and you have to kind of apply for it, and your boss has to indicate that they think that you'd be effective. And then they can rip it from you immediately if you're not effective.
Yeah.
And if if your work suffers, then you lose it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a privilege thing. And then they determine how many days a week you have to be in the office. Or some people are doing every other week. They come in one day. And then some people are coming in 3 days a week like me. And, it just depends on what your workload is, what you have to do.
Yeah.
But I think for some people that works, and especially people who work and live, pretty far out of town.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And they come into the office, and it seems like, everything they do, they could have done from home.
Yeah, well, and some people like the idea of getting their work done at home because they don't have to put up with somebody, Joe Schmo, coming up at the water cooler and chewing their ear off about, a football game or something like that.
That's also part of the reason why you're more effective is because you're not interrupted. I don't take breaks when I'm at home. So
Sure. No, I appreciate that. But you should take a break, all right? Because you don't want to work too hard, right? You don't want to burn yourself out at home and then have to sit at home the rest of the night. I appreciate the call. It's great insight you provided. I appreciate that. Let me get to the study real quick here. Microsoft, again, surveying a boatload of workers across the globe in 11 different countries. And they found that 82% of decision makers at businesses feel bringing employees back to the office is a major concern in the new year, while 73% of employees said that they need a good reason to ditch their flexible work schedule. And this report came out from Microsoft last month. Now, some of the interesting breakdowns they have here, employees said that if they knew their direct team members would be at the office, then 73% would also come back to the workplace. So it's kind of like, in a way, a groupthink type of thing. If their work friends attend the office, then 74% said they would do the same. So if they're friends from work and they're friends outside of work and their friends are going into the office, then those people would follow suit. Now, they break down here the kind of generational divide, and younger generations are looking to connect with senior leadership. 78% of Generation Z and Millennials versus 72% of Gen X and older, and their direct managers, 80% Gen Z and Millennials versus 76% Gen X or older in person. So Gen Z in particular, they're motivated by working in person to see their work friends. That's nearly 80%, where only about 70%, actually 68% of Gen X and older report that they want to see their work friends. So still very high. It seems to be a big motivating factor for getting people back into the office. And again, I haven't broken out all of the details of this report. I'm curious just how much COVID is still a concern. Is it now, no longer a concern about COVID and more about work productivity and flexible work schedules? Or is it just time to get back to work? Go to the office. Let's have those face-to-face meetings again. And be sure to get your TPS report to me by the end of the day. And I need a paper copy of that report. If you don't get me that report, you're working Saturday, all right? So don't be like, that schlub down in the basement with a stapler talking about how he's going to burn the building down. All right, it is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News.